people understand it. One thing I think with the class of 2030, the incoming freshmen, there are credits embedded that are, they're not, I mean, competencies removes the idea of seat time as the measure of success.
Right.
And so there are places where kids are going to be awarded credits that won't necessarily be aligned with a specific course experience, but they're things they have to demonstrate learning of. Can you, there's like four half credits. Can you
sure.
refresh our
So
memories?
the first one is logic and rhetoric. The state recommended that it should be included in an English class, which it can, but you could probably see it in other places too. It looks like Andy and his team, students will satisfy that half credit by the end of 10th grade via their English class. Social studies has had quite a significant impact with the new ED 306s. So our 9th grade students next year will have global studies, a 1-credit course. Our sophomores will have a year course made up of 2 half credits. One is U.S. history, which is a half credit, and the other half credit is New Hampshire history. So that's a full year course equaling 1 credit. Our juniors will be taking history, government, and constitution of the United States and New Hampshire, and that's 1 credit. Embedded in that, obviously, is civics. But then on the transcript, we need to write civics, half credit, and our students will be earning that in addition to this course, and there'll be a performance task. But in addition to that, the students take the United States civics exam. And passing that, they need a 70% or better, they will earn their half credit. We're going to start to administer that exam in 9th grade next year because our 8th grade teacher, Katie Bazell, does a phenomenal job in a whole civics unit, really immersing the kids in civics, and we feel like as freshmen, probably most of our students will pass that test. And then economics and financial literacy, they're a half a credit each. Another is digital literacy, that's also a half a credit. And digital literacy is rolled into the freshman seminar. So each of the freshman teachers, math, science, ELA, and social studies, are taking on that digital literacy piece where students will have a portfolio to showcase all of their learning via that portfolio. And I think that was it. Oh, one other change with mathematics is it's 3 credits. However, at Newmarket, our students are required to take 4 years of math. At least 3 credits must be earned in math courses, including Algebra 1. The 4th year can be chosen from a list of math experience courses in our program of studies. What changed in the 306s is including algebraic concepts. The previous one, so our sophomores, juniors, and seniors, that includes Algebra 1. So it, I guess, reduced the standard from Algebra 1 to just algebraic concepts, which one could argue are in elementary school. So we, as Newmarket, are requiring that our students graduate with Algebra 1.
So for state of New Hampshire diploma, it's 20 credits, I believe.
Yes, it's 20 credits.
We revised our credit total requirements to 24. This new document shows total credits of 26.
Exactly. So because of the additional half credit courses of the civics, logic and rhetoric, digital, economics and financial literacy, it increased the total number of credits. And then our electives, which we do include an option for career and connected learning, we increased our electives because we want to expand on our ELO program, our extended learning opportunity program, because it's perfectly aligned with connecting kids to careers and making those deep connections, and also helping kids post high school, you know, whether they want to further that study in 2-year, 4-year college or in career. And we want to be able to support that. And with the really focused implementation of competencies and what that looks like, we also want our students here in Newmarket, and we want to be able to provide learning that's truly embracing our future and for our students in particular, so that they are prepared post-high school, and that learning can look different. It doesn't have to be in a seat Monday through Friday. Learning can look different, and it's opening our eyes up to that, because that is the future. You know, one example that was given to us was 10 or 15 years ago, schools across the country were really emphasizing coding. Get your kids to learn coding. They need to learn how to code. And now we've learned AI has taken that over. And now it's not even so much a skill, so much that we're really encouraging our students to do. We don't even know what, we don't know. Technology is moving at such a fast pace that we have to move with it. And we have to move with like thinking how we educate our students differently so that we're inspiring them. We are looking into reinforcing curiosity and supporting our students to be curious about learning something new, about making connections to their learning, about synthesizing their learning, and really being like stewards, you know, of what and grasping their future and what that looks like. And we as educators need to support that. And
So
I guess my question was going to be, are we concerned with the additional 2 credits reducing our ability to be as flexible for students' needs?
So, yeah, so I would say no, but let me explain why. When we made the change to 24 credits, those were credits based on seat time. Okay? So there are 2 credits that are now included, and they show up as pass-fail. They're embedded in courses kids are going to, so for example, you're going to get a half credit for logic and rhetoric.
Yeah.
It's embedded in your 4 years of English experience.
Great.
If you, the civics assessment, you're going to take the standard course, but then you're going to get another half credit for passing the civics exam. So it's not tied to time in a classroom necessarily, it's tied to showing you learned that. The other thing to keep in mind is we have an increasing number of kids. In fact, I'm very pleased to see, Andy said there's 25 8th graders doing Spanish, and they're taking Spanish as a Spanish 1, so kids will enter high school with a Spanish credit and
could be an algebra credit.
And algebra as well. So they're going to be a population of kids that are going to arrive at high school with 2 credits to begin with.
Okay.
And so I think, so to answer your question, I think it's going to be manageable. And the other thing I think, which is what Patty's talking about, is looking at learning experiences that are not necessarily tied to a specific classroom that's there, like we're talking about career fairs and kids going out into the community doing an internship at a bank or things like that that are not. So I do think it is going to be manageable, but we have to program for it, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I guess we talked about this in the policy committee as well. One of my big concerns, anxieties that I think we've got to try to address as best we can in board policy is unavoidably our building principal is going to end up being called on to adjudicate, well, my kid had this experience and I think this demonstrates a competency in this area. How do we give the principal something solid to rest their decision-making on? I don't want to hang people out to dry where they're being forced to make a decision without really having much to go on. It's a real concern, and it's going to happen. It's beyond question within the first year or 2.
Yeah, can I just speak to that?
Yeah.
We are, that's in the professional development that we're going to be providing teachers, because you're right. It's not fair for the building principal to be the one who makes that call. I would imagine the building principal, whatever the subject area is that the student is trying to demonstrate that mastery, would work with the teacher in that subject area, so collaboratively they could look at what the student is showing as evidence of mastery to have that discussion. I would imagine it would be collaborative like that, and that's the work that we're doing, is defining what the competencies are, and then it's really assessments. How do you assess for that? When I think of the New Hampshire history, half the year, U.S. history, New Hampshire history, we could have a student that moves from Kansas to New Hampshire. Their junior year or senior year, of course we're going to allow that student to graduate, but most likely that student had Kansas the history of Kansas, where they were. And so it's going to be so important that we have competencies so that student has the opportunity to learn about the state of New Hampshire and show us evidence of that mastery.
My other concern, I don't think there's a solution for this, it just worries me, is if control of the State House turns over in the next year or two, a good chunk of this is going to get wiped out and replaced. It's no different from all the work we did on the Biden administration, Title IX, Title VI, that we then immediately had to undo. So I worry we're moving into this period of just seesaw competing policy changes.
I agree with you on some of all these like little half credits and the names of courses, but competencies are not going to go away.
No,
like that part's not, because colleges are also shifting a little bit, depending upon where you go, of how they're instructing students, kind of getting away from the big lecture hall, and to this idea of like this evidence of mastery and this connectedness and this application to real life situations. That's how we have to get our kids thinking, that critical, analytical thinking, but applying your thinking, learning about something and then applying it to a different situation or a real life situation. I don't think that's going to go away, and I think that we have to change to support our kids and to really prepare them for those next steps post-high school.
Any other comments, questions?
I don't want to belabor this, but when it comes to the assessments, will there be, I don't know how to word this professionally, there will be qualified people evaluating the student's work? Is that...
Do you mean if a student...
like an ELO, something like that,
A subject matter expert of some sort.
Well, and also an educator.
So we need to develop, I think, tighter processes and systems in place for that,
Yeah.
so that there is clear criteria, students know what the expectation is, the company where they go also knows what the expectation is, and then what is the outcome? How does the student showcase what they learned during this extended learning opportunity? There needs to be a place where students showcase what they know.
And a little rigor, they can't just show up and say, like you were talking about, they can't just show up and say, I did it, and the parents
Right.
say, well, they went to work every day,
Exactly. It's the thoughtfulness. Well, how are you going to take this? Like, what are the skills that you're taking post-high school or into college? What did you learn, and how are you going to apply this or
Yeah.
further study this particular area?
And I'm sure there'll be a lot of work on that, and hopefully
Yep.
it'll be all worth it.
I hope so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we want to foster a discussion of topics that we would like to see on the agenda in a potential joint meeting of the town council and the school board, which, in full transparency, I want to share, has not been scheduled at this time and is still a work in progress to try to nail down a date for that. Todd, I don't know if you have any framing comments before we just open it for...
I mean, Steve Fournier and I have had conversation. He assures me that the town council is going to have a similar conversation to this within the next month of like what topics they would like to engage with us, and then we can hopefully form a joint agenda and then schedule a meeting. Because as you know, Dan, because you were on the Charter Commission, there's a lot of conversation about trying to get the joint meetings happening in a more regular pattern.
So,
with certainly any large funding projects or projects requiring funding, large amounts of funding in the future, projections would be useful. I don't think it'd be probably pretty easy for us to project out, but.
Other thoughts, comments?
The other idea I had, sorry, if anyone.
No.
I'm not entirely sure this makes sense for a joint meeting to discuss this, but I know we share electrical providers, or there's a way we reduce our costs with electrical by having a joint account or whatever the process is. I wonder if something similar could be done for propane or any other type of item like that. I don't think we use fuel oil at all, but
Yeah, no, I don't think there's
Yeah.
any fuel oil left in town buildings. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but. Other thoughts?
I agree in terms of, I've been asked before if I know about is there going to be an athletic facility built? Is there going to be more of a I don't even know what to call it, in town, not to replace the rec, but similar, but.
Like a sports complex or
More
something?
encompassing, yeah. And I don't know if there's this idea that maybe we are more cohesive and working together than what has been. I never really.
so maybe like in articulating our needs and seeing if they have
Yeah.
needs, and maybe the needs kind of coalesce around, say, joint rec sports facility.
and even just-
hypothetically.
And not feeling that potentially something that could be coming is going to be a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise that one or the other is going to put something that is a large
Yeah.
ask.
I know the town hall, the building itself has been an issue because it needs a lot of work and they're running out of space. So I don't know what their thoughts are on allowing us to continue our lease forever, but it might be something worth considering. I think they did an assessment, right? A buildings assessment.
Yeah.
So maybe getting their feedback on what that included and what concerns they have.
Because ideally, it would be, not kind of taking turns with big ticket items
Yeah.
year to year, just to make, for budgeting sake at the very least.
Yep.
But so that either group doesn't feel like they're guessing.
Where
that
can we,
maybe somebody is.
where can we combine and where,
Yeah.
what their plans are?
Because, we could leverage economies of scale sometimes, maybe, if we've both got similar projects that we can engage the same contractor on, or who knows, right? But going over those 20-year kind of plans, it probably, above and beyond just, are you aware that we have this 20-year plan, but, what do you think about this, and is there a way that we can collaborate?
And I know, Todd, you've met with talking about solar type things. Is the town also
Well,
looking at
actually,
similar
that's,
conversations?
it is a conversation we're engaged in. There is, right now, there's a study being done of 5 locations in town as potential for
Okay.
solar arrays. And we recommended they look at the property across the street, the Carpenter property, so that's one of the 5 that they're looking at. So there is a possibility of a combined project if there was, because we've got, 15 acres over there, of which probably 10 of them are unbuildable anyway, but might be suitable for a solar array. The rest of it, to your point about an athletic complex, might be a site there. But it would definitely need to be a joint project because the solar part is something the town has been promoting. And obviously, we would benefit from it. But yeah, there's an opportunity there for a collaborative project for sure.
All right, I'll throw out a few things that came up during the Charter Commission discussions that I know seem to make a lot of sense as we were kicking them around. One is just, which a couple of people have alluded to, seeing if there's an opportunity for the town and the school to collaboratively schedule kind of major potential capital projects so that you don't have 2 big things both hitting the tax rate at the same time. It seemed like a longer shot, but somebody did toss out the idea of whether there's a way to coordinate and stagger the expiration of the various collective bargaining agreements. We have the support staff union and the teachers union. The town has the police union. And, is there a way, anything we can do to try to keep big, major chunks of new incremental cost from hitting the tax rate simultaneously? Another thing was looking at how we manage sort of the collective borrowing capacity of the town. Yes, the town and the school district are separate, public corporative entities. Each, has its own debts and its own budget, but ultimately it is one town with one tax base and lenders would not feel overly comfortable lending money to us if they thought the town was overburdened with debt or vice versa, because the town ultimately collects the taxes. So that was a thought that came up in the course of this, kind of looking at whether there are things that the town or the school district are doing that might make more sense if the other body was doing it. And the example that came up was welfare and social services. That is something that we, by virtue of our social workers, end up doing a fair bit of. The town doesn't really have a welfare department per se, but that's a bit limiting in the sense that families who don't have children in the schools don't really have access to that. And maybe that would make more sense to put it on the town side than in the school district. There are a few different things you could think of like that, where one body or the other is doing something that actually might more sensibly reside in the other. And then the last thing somebody, I can't remember who brought this up, but it was a good point, that the rec department, nearly as much as anything other than the police department, really spans both worlds. The rec department is running programs that we depend on heavily for after-school activities, and to potentially have some collaborative planning on that, on the future of what the athletic facilities in the town are, because the school district is one of, if not the largest user of the athletic facilities that we have in town that are maintained by the rec department. All of these things came up in the course of our discussions as things that the two entities should really be thinking about and planning together, just so that we keep everything harmonized and we maximize efficiency by putting the responsibilities where, they would most logically reside.
Do you know offhand when the expiration of the police and fire
I do not.
bargaining agreement?
The police actually,
Just on the last warrant.
it's coming up again this time around.
Oh, that's right, there's a one-year extension.
Because they had a contract 3 years ago. They had issues with getting and keeping people, so they reopened it and had an amendment to the contract last year.
Yeah.
And then now their contract is up again, but I'm told it's a much more modest number, because they made the big adjustment on the amendment that they did last year.
Do we know how many years
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah,
that might be? Okay, I was just thinking,
Right.
we always discuss trying to keep, the support unit and the teacher unit not on the same years, but it had never even occurred to me about the other two.
Yeah, the town is going to have, my understanding anyway, some pretty sizable expenses coming up over the next few cycles. Town hall really needs attention. We're going to have to make a decision at some point whether continuing to have a volunteer fire department is sustainable. Lots of towns comparable to us are being forced to move away from that because of staffing concerns. We've thus far been fortunate, but there's no guarantee that persists. And the loss of availability of some services like the advanced life support that Exeter Hospital used to run is forcing a lot of towns to make some decisions about how they're going to provide those services. So I definitely, for many, many years, the biggest concern of taxpayers and voters in town was, whither the school district, where are the buildings going to end up? Since we've solved that, it really feels at this point like the town may have some of the bigger near-term needs to spend money and, to just get together and be thoughtful about how we're funding all of that was a big concern of the Charter Commission, that we're not being so independent of one another that we end up doing things that never would have made sense if you'd sat down and talked about it.
Yeah.
It is.
It's logical.
Feel more collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, we only have one set of voters, we only have one set of taxpayers in this town. There's nobody who pays the school district tax rate and doesn't pay the town tax rate, or vice versa, so.
The other thing I know the Charter Commission chatted about was, I mean, I know the charter only can be about the town, so it can only mandate that the town invite us to a meeting every year, but it doesn't preclude the board initiating a meeting as well with the council. And so it certainly is something we could look at, as much as, yes, there's the Charter Commission's, the charter's requirement, but having a regular meeting at our request, particularly if it's an agenda that we want to drive, there's nothing wrong. I mean, they don't have to come, but we can certainly invite them.
Correct. That was definitely something that we discussed.
Yeah, I think the intent of having it in there was just a way to instruct the town to do it, as opposed to, restricting who can do it.
Right.
Correct. Nobody feels like it's a bad, or nobody I've talked to feels like it's a bad idea to have those meetings. All right, so we have an item on here to discuss the Support Staff Association's ratification of their contract, but we don't actually know whether they've ratified it.
Well, they are actually they're having a meeting as we speak, so I'm told they're going to email me when they have a vote. So, and I really we can't talk publicly about the details of it until they have a vote and we have a vote, and then we can share the details. So, I guess I don't feel comfortable going into a significant discussion on it at this point. I'm monitoring my email. We may get something shortly.
All right, so we will move along then and look at the draft calendar for the 26-27 school year. Very exciting.
Yes, it is. You may recall, this is probably the most exciting development in the last month is that you may remember I talked to you about the legislation coming about requiring the start after Labor Day, and I said I might be bringing you two calendars. I've received clarification that if that does pass, that wouldn't start until 27-28. So at least for one more year, our calendar can remain relatively consistent. The one variable to keep in mind is I'm still waiting on confirmation. I've given this calendar to Terry Leatherman, Superintendent of Raymond, who's kind of coordinating all the SST calendars to make sure we don't have too many conflicts. This is pretty close to our previous calendars, so I don't anticipate this being a problem. But I wanted to share it with you now, not because you need to approve it now, but I wanted you to begin thinking about it. What's different in this year's calendar compared to last year, or compared to this year, excuse me, the big one, November, the workshop day has been moved to Tuesday the 3rd, which will be an election day. Even numbered years are state and federal elections, so that's for that reason. Everything else is largely just corresponding dates from what has been in the past. And again, it's possible we might be asked to make some subtle changes to align with SST, but I don't anticipate that. And this has been seen, the union has seen it as well, and they're as happy with it as they've ever been, which doesn't mean they're happy with it, but it's what it is.
Questions? All right, well, please.
The only interesting thing I saw was that if there hypothetically were no snow days, then the last day of school indeed would be on a Monday
That
and
is
a half
correct.
day. Okay.
That is correct.
So in that unlikelihood,
One thing to
we
keep
might
in
have
mind.
low
One thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, we should probably extend it to a Wednesday, so it
Yeah.
doesn't,
One thing to keep in mind is the local school board has the authority, once minimum standards have been met, to determine what the last day of school is. So just because something is, if there were no snow days at all, and we had 100%, you could make the call to say, okay, this is going to be the last day because we met the standard. Because remember, we go on an hours calculation. Minimum standard is 990 instructional hours. And officially, once we've met that, it's up to us locally to decide when the school year ends. So, yes, and I know that was one of the questions the union brought up. It's like, oh, you're kidding me. It's like, well, that's just the way the calendar fell. But we can obviously make a decision later on if we decide that it's not valuable to have a school day on a Monday.
I say we
It
do.
might be the most celebrated flag day.
I say we decree right now there'll be no snow days.
So basically, this is based on 180 days?
No.
No? Okay.
We have, in the last 4 years, and actually even longer than that, we have 178 instructional days. Remember,
Okay.
we are on the hours calculation.
Yes, that's what I was going to.
And so what we did was we added some more PD time. I think that was a COVID era sort of thing that came in. And educators really value the setup time before school opens to get ready. Because what always happens on those 3 days, you got one day that's dictated by the superintendent's going to get up and do a rah-rah speech, and everybody just kind of like, I'm going to tolerate this guy. And I can say that because it's me. There's a required PD and all the things, and people are like, okay, I need to get my classroom ready.
Yeah.
So, and then there are also building level meetings you have to have.
Yeah.
So having the 3 days really has turned out to be a plus. Teachers
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
My era fought hard for that. Elementary teachers fought hard for that.
All right. Well, I look out in the crowd and I see that Brennan approves, so I'm good with it. Please also convey our thanks to the superintendent from
Yeah.
Raymond. That is yeoman's work to try to coordinate all that mess of all the SST school
And I'm
districts.
glad we only have to do one this year, and hopefully it will remain the same.
My feelings exactly.
All right, we're getting near the end here.
Just going to check my email one more time.
Okay. We have 3 anonymous donations to acknowledge this evening. Todd, if you want to quickly
Sure.
characterize them.
Let me quickly look them up. because-
One of them is probably my favorite donation that we've ever acknowledged, so
Okay, 3 anonymous donations. First donation, $1,250, an honors request to be applied to the principal's discretionary activity fund. Second donation is $1,000, and the donor requested that it be applied to the principal's discretionary student activity fund. And the third donation in the amount of $1,000, the donor requested that it be applied to the clock in the NJSHS gym, with the remaining balance being applied to the principal's discretionary student activity fund.
I think there's 2 clocks.
Yes, for those who don't know, when you go to the gym and you watch a basketball game, there are 2 clocks, one on each end, that have not worked, I don't know how many years, and everybody kind of looks up like they think it's telling the time.
Since
and it
I've lived in
doesn't
town, I think is the correct answer.
yeah, I remember those clocks from the deliberative session when people were arguing about not renovating these buildings. They were arguing about building a new school on the golf course. Those clocks didn't work.
Yeah, they were right twice a day, but they
Yes.
they have not turned.
It doesn't stop me, at least, from looking at
I
That-
know.
That's
Exactly.
It's still,
That's the point.
So
Next time
clearly,
I go
the
to the
donor
game, I'll
spends
have
a
to-
lot of time in the gym, so
It's a
that-
trap.
much appreciated.
All right, thank you to the kind anonymous donors. We appreciate it. All right, let's move along
do
to
we have to
action
approve
items.
those, or, no, okay.
I'm sorry?
1250?
Yeah,
Oh, that's,
all three of
well,
them.
they're on the,
1,000
they're on the
all three
voting
have
list.
to be approved. Yep.
So, who has the manifest?
No, I hope you're watching.
Go, Lonnie, go.
Right. I make a motion to approve the manifest for December 18th, 2025, in the amount of $1,269,081.64.
Second.
Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you, Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are unanimous 5-0, approving the manifest. Next up, I would accept a motion to approve our minutes from the December 4th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Gary.
I'll make a second.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody, one addition, the students who presented to us, I see Magnolia and Lily under there. I think Simon Hartshorn also did a brief presentation.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely did. Yep.
Yeah, also presented something to us, so I don't want to fail to acknowledge him for that. Did anyone see anything else in the minutes? Going once, going twice, all right. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say aye.
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 One
Opposed?
abstention.
One abstention.
Oh.
Okay, so we are 4-0 and 1. I would accept a motion to accept the first read of policy IK and policy IKF.
We don't need to
as-
do motions for, we don't need to do approvals of first reads.
No, you don't have to. No.
All
You
right.
can.
We can if you'd like to, but we don't have to.
I will then strike that from our action items. I would accept a motion to approve the draft calendar for the 2026-2027 school year as presented to us by the superintendent.
I so move.
Thank you,
Second.
Kathy. Thank you, Lonnie. Any comments, questions? All those in favor? Aye. We are unanimous, 5-0.
And you don't need to vote on the warrant?
Yep, we're not approving the warrant articles tonight. We are not yet in a position to vote on the NSSA contract, as that we've,
I would like to make a motion that we approve the anonymous donations to the Newmarket School District that we received.
thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Gary. All the-
Yay, clocks.
Yes, yay clocks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are unanimous, 5-0. And seeing as how it doesn't look like we're going to get there just yet on the NSSA contract, I would accept a motion to,
Could I make just one possible suggestion?
please.
That we, because we do need to have a non-public conversation. Could we not adjourn this meeting, go do our non-public meeting, and then come back out in the event?
But we're doing a non-public and a non-meeting?
Well, or no, we're, non-meeting, excuse me, I'm wrong terminology, but if we don't close this meeting, we could go have our meeting and come back out, and if we've got the results of the vote, we could then reasonably vote tonight. Otherwise, we have to wait. I can just,
Parliamentarian, is that?
That's acceptable. I move we go into recess
Yes.
for a non-meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of a brief recess?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I guess the question is, do you tell him to